MMA fighting here with Ben Rothwell, who is making his BKFC debut against Bobo O'Bannon October 1st. Ben, it has been a long time since we've spoken. The first time since on Zoom. I am already off to a terrible start, as you know. To get this kicked off, did you intend for this kind of debut, this wait before your debut in BKFC, or is this the way it was supposed to work out?
First of all, relax. You gotta relax, man. This is Big Ben, man. This is the land of give no fucks.
That's right.
We're good, man.
We are good. Okay.
To your question, I had no idea. I ventured into the mysterious fog of the unknown, and here we are. It's been a bit of a wait. I was trying to be active because my announcement for signing got done in April, and then there was the idea in my mind that I was going to fight in the summer, and then I got told August, and now it's October 1st. But this is we have a fight, we got an opponent, we got a date, we got a place. It's happening. That's all I care about now. And, it's just a week away.
You excited?
You get asked that question. It's like hard to explain excitement with fighting. I'm going to go against another man that wants to try to take me out. I'm going to take him out. It's a thing. There's feelings, there's emotions, excitement. Yeah. But it's not like excitement like, you got this big Christmas present about to open. It's different, it's a competition, man. It's an opportunity for me, and especially at my age, I'm doing this a long time, over half my life. So it's an opportunity, and for me to go out and do what everyone around me knows I can do, what I can do, and especially the fans know I can do, and build a whole new group of fans with the bare-knuckle, fan base. Yeah, it's exciting.
Well, you've been a martial artist your entire life, right? And you've been doing all the martial arts. You've been mixing all the martial arts. Now you're doing essentially one martial art, and a modified one at that, given that there's no protective padding around your hands. Does that change? How does that change things for you, doing one thing for so long and then going into this new thing?
So I had my first official amateur fight at 17, and I'm 40. So there's the time. It was July 25th, 1999. That was my very first. I fought 2 times that night, and I continued to do that again for the next 2 times that I fought. I had to fight 2 times in one night. So yeah, that's when I started. But I really hadn't done much prior to that. Did you wrestle? Did you do amateur boxing? Things like that. And I actually didn't do any of those things until after I started fighting. I literally went into a gym that taught me basic jiu-jitsu and basic fundamentals. And a month later, I went and fought. And then I got hooked. I won that tournament, and then I got hooked. And then I started trying to learn basically everything, because I came from a guy that was learned from Pat Miletich, and Pat Miletich back in 2000, they were recognized as some of the very first guys to, hey, this is mixed martial arts. You got to be good at everything. You got to have the wrestling, jiu-jitsu, the striking. And I naturally just became very passionate about striking. Jiu-jitsu was my first love, though, because it woke my eyes up to, wow, a little guy could smoke a big guy, no problem. That's how powerful jiu-jitsu is. So that initially got me hooked. But my fights, I was winning by knockouts. And if you look at my MMA record, I have almost 50, I have well over 50 fights. I have almost 40 wins, but almost 30 of them are by knockout. So I'm a natural striker that just happens to have a lot of skill sets. I did some kickboxing and boxing in my early years starting out. Obviously, numerous street fights where there was no hand wrap. So the street fighting it happened a little bit after I started fighting, but it was more so before, and it kind of was also a trigger to why I had to start venting this and putting it in the right direction, because it obviously isn't going to end up anything good doing it legally. But the whole bare-knuckle thing was fine, because since I didn't like wrapping my hands before the UFC, and then once I got in the UFC, it was like, oh, you have to. And I hated it because it restricted my grip I like to grapple and I like to make a hard fist. And people weren't good at wrapping MMA back, in 2010, 2011. Guys were trying to figure it out. They would wrap very boxing-like. I hated it. It wasn't really helping me. And I went to the commission with UFC. I'm like, can I just stop wrapping my hands? I don't want to. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, listen. They're like, hey, if you break your hand, you're clear. I'm like, yeah, fine. So it was like 2012. I stopped. They just made me literally put some tape on, so it looked like they're wrapping. They really weren't. And I always spar with no hand wrap, so this is really natural for me. So that part of it is good for me, because it really, talking to the bare knuckle people, there's been boxers and MMA guys that won't even do it because they can't wrap their hands. So there's a thing. So I'm separated from that. You talk about mixing it. The difference between boxing is you can't pull a guy's head down and hit him with shots, and that's what bare knuckles allow. So that's very good for me. I love clinching. It's been part of my game for a long time. As a heavyweight, it helps me impose my will. So bad for my opponents, and it's something that I can bring into this. So there's a lot of good things at this. It's very exciting for sure.
So speaking of your opponent, Bobo O'Bannon, he says he begged to fight you when you first signed with BKFC. Your reaction to that?
There's mixed feelings. There's a couple good feelings. Well, I'm a big enough name. This guy wants to fight me because he thinks I'm a big name and all these things. But then I just let all the negatives come in and we're like, fuck that guy. You called me out. He's completely concentrated on my last. All he cares about is my bad fights. And he thinks that's what he's going to have. Well, he should go talk to Josh Barnett, because Josh always told me that amongst Josh and those high-level guys, he said they always prayed that Ben shows up, because like, we can beat that guy. If you're mentally out of it, you're not moving your feet, not doing things, we can beat that guy. There's another version of you, and Josh told me after we fought, he goes, that showed up against me and fucked me because that guy doesn't get stopped. And they're like, Ben, and Josh said, Ben, you show up like that, you'll beat everybody. Well, that's the guy that plans to show up. Like, I know what happened in my last fight. I know where my mind is. I know things that I've tagged. I know the injuries I was dealing with. Nobody knows those things. So, hey, buddy, good. Look at that. Focus on that, because what's really coming for you is something completely different. And it's just the facts. Like, I know who I am, and I know what I've went through, and I know who he's beat and what he's done. And if he's trying to put me on that level, hey, go ahead and do that. But
does that make your job easier when he does that? Does it make it, if that's what he's doing, if that's the way he's coming at you, does that make your job easier?
Well, I can make it personal. Like, the more street that I can make this, the more real life I can make this, the better it is for me. Some guys don't work that way. Some guys are very sport oriented. They need the rules. They need the ref. They need to be able to do certain things. It's just how it is. And I'm not. I'm like a real life guy. I firmly believe any of my losses in MMA, we fight on the street, I beat every one of those guys. Like, that's just the way I have to be. It's the way I think, because I know how I am. So that's what's getting brought to the table October 1st.
So how do you get in that mindset?
I just got a chip on my shoulder too. I got a lot to prove, because you watch the bare knuckle fans, they don't give a fuck about me. They don't know me. I'm just some guy coming in to take light away from the bare knuckle guys. Listen, I'm a fighter. I don't care what your rules, what your setup is. I'm a fighter. This is very close to a street fight, being bare knuckle. So that's what I said. When I get out and perform, people see what I can do. I think I want to make a whole other set of fans.
So the chip on the shoulder is people thinking that the Ben Rothwell that they're going to see is the one that struggled a little bit in the octagon later in his career.
I don't even know what I think I just see this animosity towards, I'm labeled the MMA guy. And when MMA guys come into bare knuckle, the bare knuckle people seem to like it's like a rite of passage. Like, we don't know about you. Fuck you. You're from something else. It's just the vibe I get. But we'll see. We'll see what after October 1st, what is said and what goes down.
And this is not a heavyweight contest, correct?
What do you mean it's not?
Like this is not being contested at a cutoff of 265, right? You're not fighting at 265.
That's an MMA thing. And this has been a big fucking talking point because bare-knuckle's trying to figure out where they're at with weight class. And if they just look at their own Wikipedia on their own weight classes, it says 206 and up, unlimited. That's heavyweight. And in my mind, that's real heavyweight. We look at boxing, look at other sports, like there it is. Like you gotta remember MMA and Dana White especially, like, no, he wanted 265. He doesn't want big fat dudes fighting and all this. There's a big long thing to it. So that became like the staple. And even boxing's got a much higher range, sometimes even up to 400. There's just a different range. So it's a lot different. So like, let's get back to that. Like we're heavyweights. Like let us just be what we are. Whatever the case is, this particular fight has a cutoff of 295. I know next year bare-knuckle is looking to implement a cutoff that's a little bit lower. They're talking like 85, 275, something like that. I need to go perform and show them, let me make the heavyweight division in this league great. So that's what I'm bringing. I said, let us be. They've had some 300-pound guys fight already. Like, well, just let us be. Let us do our thing.
What weight do you expect to fight at?
What's that?
What weight do you expect to fight at?
This fight will be 295.
And what do you actually expect to come in at 295 on fight night or weigh in at 295?
Yeah, I have to.
Got it. You could weigh in at 295. You could be even heavier than 295 on fight night.
I might be.
What are you right now? What are you walking at right now?
Honestly, I'm 3 bills right now.
Is heavyweight off the table? Like, is MMA heavyweight off the table for you for the future? Or now that you're fighting in a heavyweight division where the cutoff is 295, is that kind of where you plan to focus your efforts?
So it's like I said, moving the next year, they're trying to put a cap, and I will adjust myself accordingly. Like, obviously, I could make 266 from the old days, but I'm trying to get away from that because it didn't do me any good having to cut 20, 30 pounds when people are going to be slow fat. Like, listen, like, you don't understand. Like, depleting my body wasn't helping me. Like, my conditioning, fair to say, is better. I'm way stronger. I'm just way more dangerous right now. I mean, you have to imagine I have 30 plus more pounds behind my punches. Like, I have to be careful for myself, but I destroy people. Like, I'm not trying to be whatever, but like, I have to be very careful with my training partners. I brought in boxers, pro boxers, Golden Glove winners. I have a 6'8" standard training partner I'm with who's bigger than me. And I need these people because I'm on a different level than I've ever been right now. So I'm trying to, I naturally, like, without all the lifting and stuff prior to this, just during the UFC time, I was normally walking around 285. Like, that's just normal for me. And then once I got released, I was able to, I can't strength train. You just can't strength train and eat and have the protein intake that you need when I was trying to be that light. So when I got a chance to actually strength train and use my facility, I got to, get stronger, and it just naturally made me bigger.
So the version that so many MMA fans know of you is actually a somewhat depleted version, looking back.
100%.
And why is that? Because you didn't have the ability, because you were cutting weight, you were essentially taking away some of your natural strength. For sure. Gotcha. Interesting. So this is sort of a new start for you. Definitely like a fresh start, not only in like what you're doing, but in your actual, the stature that you bring to the competition.
Oh, like, really, man, training's been a lot of fun, because there's no way around it for MMA. You have to commit a fair amount of time to your wrestling, to jiu-jitsu, putting it all together, and you're striking, like, all that all week long. You're hitting all these things, trying to make time, energy for these. And honestly, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, wrestling especially, there's a high injury rate. And if you don't get injured, it's definitely leaving you very sore and broken. Like, I know, like, 20-year-old guys are like, what are you talking about? When you're 40 and you're wrestling hard and you're doing jiu-jitsu hard, you will not feel the same the next day. Just mark my words, young guys. Things change when you get older. And I've had to be very smart about getting through this last 5 years. Even at 35 and on, it's still been a challenge. But I've been doing it, like I said, over half my life. So my body is obviously better equipped than most. But to now kind of get away from all that and literally I'm just focusing on strength and conditioning and boxing. Yeah, I'm able to actually have a higher output. I can spar a whole hour, feel great the next day. So it's like a blessing in disguise. I've had a lot this summer. I've had a lot of good training, a lot of fun. I'm injury free, and that's been a joy.
So, what do you make of Bobo as a first opponent for you, getting in the cage and fighting this guy who's has some experience in this venue, but not nearly as much as you overall in the cage and martial arts, etc.?
It's the right one. He came up right away. I mean, like you said, he begged to fight me. All right, that's the guy I want to fight. You know, nobody else said anything. He did. So there we go. That's the right guy. As far as the style goes, from what I see, he's a big guy too, and he, for the most part, tries to impose his will. So we know how I fight. It sounds like a great fight to me. Sounds like the fans are going to get what they want to see.
How do you feel about the cuts that are possible here between your fists and between his? You think you're going to experience something new here when you step in there for the first time?
But truthfully, I got hit pretty hard by Mark Hunt, and I'd say Mark Hunt is probably one of the hardest. You know, and this was, let's go back, that was 12 years ago. So I was a 12-year-old younger Mark Hunt. The guy was hitting like a monster. I got a pretty good cut against him. So I've dealt with him. I got some cuts in some other fights. It can happen. You know, you get hit. But what I don't have to worry about is taking a shin kick or a knee or an elbow. I see elbows cutting way worse and way more often. I mean, a knee that lands flush is going to do some damage. So in that aspect, MMA is extremely dangerous. When you look at it, you can just take an open head kick to the head. Like, that's, I would say, traumatizing in a lot of ways. This is boxing. Yeah, it hurts. You know, we can get cut up, but there's a lot of things that I can avoid. Just in the wrestling exchanges in MMA, dude, joints get messed up bad. Like, far, I'd rather get hit in the face and cut up than having my joint dislocated. 100%. So it is what it is, man. Like, there's a danger. It's combat sports are inherently dangerous, but I feel like, for as crazy as this sounds, like, oh, bare knuckle, it's like, it's boxing though. There's a lot of injuries and dangers that are taken off the table, honestly.
What is your overall goal with this phase of your career? I mean, we talk about danger. You've been in this game for a lot longer than other people. You have survived a lot. You've had a lot of huge ups, also some downs, as we know. Now that you're 40 and getting into this new thing, what's your ultimate goal here? Like, what's your goal for, like, how long you want to stick around and what you want to accomplish? Is it financial based? Is it based on accomplishment? Is it some little column A, column B? What is it?
It's back when I started as a young high school, like, there was a fire. I had something to prove, right? Because I had a belief in myself that I'm like, I believe I'm one of the best fighters in the world. And in MMA, I was ranked at one point in time 4th in UFC. It's like I was getting there. I was proving I was the best in the world, but I still, to this day, didn't really show all of my stuff, you know, and that's ground included, but especially on my striking. And this is like my last chance to get it right, to really show the world what the people around me know. And that's why they believe it. They're still like, yeah, dude, do it. Like, you got that fire. There's some stuff the world needs to see. That combat sport, fans are, I'm going to blow them away. I have an ability as a heavyweight to show some things that have never been seen before. You've never seen a heavyweight move and do the things I can do. It's just finally time. I got to let that happen. I got to get in there and stop holding back. You've seen little glimpses when I fought Brandon Vera and some of these guys moving my feet, doing my things. You know, I knocked out Alistair, some of the best in the world. But there's there's putting that together. And now I think this is really my chance and opportunity to do so. I'm really shock the world and be a talking point. And as long as the fire is there, I'm going to do this. How long? I don't know. You know, only the universe and God know that. And when it's time to be done, it'll be done. But for right now, this is an opportunity, and I'm going to have as much fun with it as I can.
A lot of UFC veterans are making pretty good paydays to make the transition into this new sport. Financially, by the time you get done with this deal, are you going to be able to walk away from the sport comfortably?
That's a relative number of what's comfortable, because I can truthfully tell you, man, like living it the way I'm living, we're good. We're comfortable. Like, my house is paid off. I have 2 paid off vehicles. I drive an Audi. My wife has a Mercedes, not to be whatever, but I didn't pay $150,000 for my Audi. I got my Audi for $32,000. Everybody thinks it's brand new. I hate talking about money, honestly, but I'm just trying to say that I see that in the world. I see a lot of guys blow their money, be decrepit and done fighting, have nothing. It's terrible, you know, and that could happen to anybody, you know, and there was a period of time where I had worked so hard and I had a big win against Brendan Schaub, and I got a big $65,000 bonus, all excited. And then after a few months, I look at my bank account and I go, oh my God, what did I do? And I lost my mind for a minute, you know, it creeped up. And so basically from then forward, I kind of made it a thing, like, don't ever let that happen again. Be smart, make investments, do things. And essentially for me, you know, I'm being compensated well for where I'm at and make comparative to what's going on around us. This is all to be used for investment. I think having a building for my gym and owning it's a big deal. Looking at multi-units, things of that nature, I think are smart moves. And I think that's the long term. So as far as like, can I go out and buy a Lamborghini right now? Yeah, but it wouldn't be very smart. Like, so that's kind of where I'm at. You know, I think like I'm taken care of, but you can always be better. You always do more. So,
how do you feel about where you left things with the UFC? Would you have done anything different in your career to get to this point where you are right now?
Yeah, the last fight, just extremely sucked. If I could go back and had one fight, it would be against, you know, Marcos Delimo, my last opponent, for sure. I just can't help but believe 99 out of 100 times I own him. I put him down, but he had that 190. 10 seconds into the fight, he got a shot through. I didn't recover in time, and he jumped on me. It was so early in the fight, and that's the shitty part, that those things can happen. And so that was a downer. Never in my entire career let a fight go that fast in that fashion. But it's a constant reminder that anything can happen. So that one, you know, definitely burned me. It wasn't the best way to leave. And I had one more fight. I was supposed to fight Gustafsson. Could have went out, had a great showing, and been done after that. But we didn't. There was a whole time frame thing. See, I was under the impression I was going to fight in the summer. So I'm like, I'm going to do that fight and may or may not get released. Let's not waste time. Let's start building with, you know, my future. It's just taking till October now here to get it going.
How do you make sure that on October 1st, the best version of Ben Rothwell shows up?
Just feel what I'm feeling right now talking to you, man. Maybe I'll just call you. Be like, here, Steve, fire me up. Because they don't hear how you talk to me when we're not here on camera, Mr. Nice Guy.
You know, all BS aside, you know, I think I, as well as a lot of other MMA guys, you know, MMA writers who've been following your career throughout the years, you know, we care about you, and we want to see the best for you, whatever that is, whether it's fighting in BKFC, whether it's in MMA, anywhere else. We want to see the best version of you show up. And so that's always been a struggle for you. Like, if we're talking a little bit, you know, the conversations that we've had off the record, you know, it's always been kind of an issue for you showing up the best version of you. So that's why I asked that, because I think you're right. When you're on, you're really on. And I'm just at, that's why I'm asking, how do you make sure in this big, important new step that could be your next, it could be your last step in combat sports? How do you make sure the best version of you shows up?
On my last fight, it was very clear that I came out and I was hesitant. I threw a jab and I let him leg kick me and I waited. That's not me at all. Like, that was total fucking bullshit, honestly. And honestly, ever since then till now, is doing the way when I first started fighting, what I did in the IFL, what I did when I won my fights in UFC, being that. And that's the whole training this last 6 months. It's about imposing my will, and I have a very particular mindset, making sure that's first and foremost. And you might want to say it's starting fast, because in the past, you see I have slow starts, and I even win some of those fights, but I don't like things that happen in that first minute or whatever it is with the slow start. So really just being done with that. There is no slow start. There's no reason to slow start. It's 2-minute round. There's only 5 of them. This is go time. And go time, Ben Rothwell, is someone getting knocked the fuck out.
Well said. Thank you, Ben.